I had a lot of general inquiries from a lot of different chapters about the possibility of releasing the Zeitgeist moving forward on a global scale with the chapters involved. What is your take on that, Peter?
No, it's a very interesting idea, and it's something I did comment on, and I'm interested in hopefully obtaining some type of global release, whether it's simply internet or whether it's through chapters. Unfortunately, I also need to make sure that I'm not only preaching to the choir, and I've been faced with some difficult decisions as far as what to actually do with the film once it's complete. And by the way, I'm not quite sure if it will be done by October. The general route that's taken for film exposure is a route I've typically avoided with the prior two films, mainly just because I didn't really care, honestly. But this time, this film is important enough to me that it needs to get in front of new people. It needs to get in front of the mainstream group, if you will, which translates into the fact that I'm going to have to walk more of a typical line with this. Here's the way I envision it as of right now. The film will go to film festivals. Most likely it will probably start at the Artivist Film Festival in Los Angeles. I'm hoping that at least 15 or 20 other global film festivals will pick it up simultaneously. Some film festivals, unfortunately, will not accept your film if it exists online. This is a big, annoying problem with the arrogance of the industry. So there might be, and I'm not saying this is the way it's going to be, if I was accepted, say, hypothetically, to Sundance, which is very improbable, but say they did accept it, I would be pretty much an idiot not to allow that acceptance, but simultaneously, I would not be able to have the film on the internet during the duration of Sundance's run. These are the types of things that I have to figure out how to orient. Ideally, most likely, excuse me, I'm not going to see Sundance pick something like this up, and the small film festivals will be fine. I'll probably give a small buffer from the film festival runs to the actual internet release, no more than probably a couple of days. And as far as simultaneous release of the film, it would have to be gauged in a way where I can assume that no one's going to pirate the film immediately. I had all sorts of con artistry that happened with addendum, people making full sites that were pre-selling my version before the thing was even in existence. So what I would have to do, frankly, I would have to find a way to do an internet upload that is by password only initially for the chapters to utilize to gain access to for the worldwide release. This is what I'm saying. The chapters could do the worldwide release, but I can't just put the thing up online. First of all, if it's up online arbitrarily, no one's going to come to your local chapter worldwide release unless they're a part of the movement, if they can just sit down and watch it at home. So there has to be a pressure for people to want to go to see it in a public setting. Granted, people will do that anyway, but I want to make sure again this hits an audience that isn't familiar. I mean, I could obviously give it to all the chapters. The chapters would have events, and everyone would see it, and most people would understand it. They learn something, but they're already the choir. We're already the choir. So I have to figure out the most balanced way to release the film. There's also a possibility I might personally rent out at a tremendous expense a theater run in Los Angeles and in New York, which will, if I get attendance to these runs, will give clout behind the film, which might enable it to be picked up by smaller distributors, which will give it a real theatrical release. So I'm faced with a lot of different angles with this. The most important point, as I've stated, is to make sure that it hits a new audience and not just the choir. So, and as far, if there was a theatrical release, it would be a cheap release. It's just getting it in there. It's just so the press would say, okay, it's no longer an internet film. We have this film that's in theaters in New York and LA. We have to pay attention to it. So I hope this makes sense what I'm trying to describe to you. Frankly, I'd love to just release it on the internet, throw it in a few film festivals, and be done with it. But that's not the point of the film. I have to make sure this hits a new audience. So I have to sit back and think about this. But one way or another, it's going to be online virtually immediately upon its release. If the film festivals don't pan out, then obviously there's no problem, and we go directly into some type of internet stream that's restricted initially for the chapters to utilize so they can rent out their local theaters and they can do whatever they want. They charge whatever it takes to just, I don't care. It's not for money. You can rent out your own theater. You'd have to have the ability to run a computer off the internet, streamed to the projection screen. I'm not going to be sending out preliminary DVDs to people because, again, the piracy will go crazy. And still, there's still going to be the same $5 thing. It's it's difficult to walk this line. In other words, I have to be very careful. I can't allow all the mistakes that happened with Addendum, with the tremendous amount of piracy and abuse that emerged immediately. So that's pretty much the way I'd summarize it. I need to give more thought to this, but I just glanced through what you posted there, and I thought actually it was actually very good. The ideas are fantastic to spread the word. I just have to figure out the best way to do it. One distribution model which I kind of liked was the distribution model done by the people that made The Age of Stupid. I don't know if you've been to that website, but they had a very unique distribution model that they utilized, which is semi-underground. But first things first, I need to figure out how I'm actually going to finish the film, and then I'll figure out how to navigate it online and to see how to get the chapters involved and everything else. It's just beyond what I can think about right now because the pieces haven't fallen into place yet. I've had people offer me general basic distribution, but they do it in a commercial sense. I'm not willing to give some distributor 60% of whatever, because what that translates to is the fact that I will not be able to walk the line of it being a non-commercial release. Anytime distributors come into play that are high end, the idea of it being an altruistic film is thrown out the window. You can't compete. So either I'm utterly detached or I get lucky and I find someone that's willing to help me out without being abusive in the same commercial context that we see today. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. It's a tough thing I have to figure out, but whatever gets the largest audience is the route I'm going to go.
Sounds well. All right. Just keep us updated. Okay, sure. Floor, go ahead.
I would like to ask if you are going to do this chapter pre-release. Does it will come with subtitles, or we will have to add to the film?
That is contingent upon the time frame. Ideally, I will have at least 5 or 6 of the dominant subtitles that people request the most on the actual film. That's my intent. So there will be prints made of the film in 5 or 6 languages, subtitled. If it's done on the internet, for say the release is done on the internet in regard to it being shown through the internet at commercial venues through the chapters in different countries, obviously I have to get subtitles done for that. That's a whole nother level of problems, because not only is it outrageously expensive to do the translations, it takes a great deal of time. So I have to finish the film long in advance, clean it up, and then get subtitles going with it. Honestly, I'd like to start a pattern with this film to get, I mean, obviously my voice is important, but rather than subtitles, try to find some competent people to do overdubs of it, because I know a lot of people complain about having to read subtitles, and naturally the flow is better for voice overdubs, but I have to approve somebody to do that because I don't want some random voice that I don't like. I mean, obviously these films are based on an aesthetic approach. They're not purely information oriented, as you all know. So the presentation is extremely critical to be effective. So I'm pondering all of that. We'll see how it goes, but obviously translations will occur. It's one way or another beforehand.
I have for various languages very competent people that could do the dubbing, so I'll get back to you on that, Peter.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.